The grandfather clock in the hallway struck 3 when Dolores Fitzgerald discovered her life had been hollowed out from the inside, like a termite-infested beam that looked solid until you put weight on it.
This can't be right.
She stared at the computer screen, her reading glasses sliding down her nose as she refreshed the retirement account page for the 4th time. The number remained unchanged, $1,847,032. Yesterday, there should have been $782,000. 34 years of careful saving, stripped away between a Tuesday and a Wednesday afternoon in October.
Vernon!
Her voice echoed through their Bloomfield Hills colonial, bouncing off the walls adorned with photos from their 28 years of marriage. No answer. His Mercedes wasn't in the garage when she'd come home from visiting Nadine at the hospital. Her sister needed help with the mounting medical bills, and Dolores had promised to wire $30,000 that afternoon. A promise she couldn't keep with an account that wouldn't cover a month's mortgage. The landline rang, startling her. Vernon's number.
Hey, honey. Sorry. Got pulled into an emergency client meeting. Won't be home for dinner.
His voice had that particular pitch it reached when he was lying. She'd noticed it first when he'd claimed to quit smoking 15 years ago, while his clothes still reeked of Marlboros.
Vernon, I'm looking at our retirement account. There's been some kind of mistake. It's showing almost nothing.
Silence stretched across the line. She could hear him breathing, calculating.
Must be a system glitch. You know how these banking websites are. I'll call them tomorrow. Sort it all out. Don't worry about it.
Tomorrow? Vernon, this is $750,000. We need to...
I said I'll handle it, Dolores. Jesus, you act like I don't know how to manage our finances. Who's been managing our money for 30 years?
The line went dead. Dolores set the phone down with the careful precision she'd once used, handling volatile chemicals in her classroom. Her hands weren't shaking, not yet. That would come later. Right now, her mind was cataloging data points, like she was still teaching her AP chemistry students about chain reactions. Vernon's new workout routine that started 18 months ago. The unexplained receipts from Nordstrom she'd found in his jacket. The weekend golf trips that never seemed to improve his handicap. The way he'd insisted on handling all their finances after she retired last year, claiming it would be easier if one person managed everything. She opened their joint checking account. $8,950. The savings account, $12,245. Still there, untouched. Why empty the retirement but leave the others? Her teacher's pension account, separate, in her name only, showed its expected balance. Whatever was happening, it was targeted. Specific. The basement door creaked as she descended to Vernon's home office. He kept it locked, but she knew where the spare key lived, taped under the 3rd drawer of the filing cabinet. The office smelled of his cologne and the leather chairs he'd bought last Christmas. His computer was password protected, but Vernon wasn't clever about passwords. Their anniversary date backward, 699-17. The email inbox loaded. She searched for the retirement company's name. Dozens of emails, all marked red, dating back 18 months. Transaction confirmations, withdrawal notices, transfer authorizations, each one removing chunks of their future, $50,000 here, $75,000 there. The most recent, just yesterday, $285 transferred to an account at a bank she didn't recognize.
Bianca Rossdale.
The name appeared in one of the transfer memos. Who was Bianca Rossdale? Dolores's fingers moved across the keyboard with the methodical patience of someone who'd spent decades grading papers and entering scores. Social media revealed her quickly enough. Bianca Rossdale, 38, entrepreneur and lifestyle coach, based in Royal Oak. Her Instagram feed was a parade of designer handbags, exclusive restaurants, and motivational quotes about living your best life and never settling for less than you deserve. The most recent photo, posted 6 hours ago, Bianca's manicured hand, wearing a tennis bracelet that looked suspiciously similar to one Dolores had seen in their credit card statement last month. The one Vernon claimed was a client gift, written off as a business expense. The caption read, "When he knows your worth, blessed/spoiled." Dolores heard the garage door opening. Vernon was home. She closed the browser windows, but took photos of the screen with her phone first, a habit from years of documenting lab experiments. Evidence before cleanup. Always evidence first. She climbed the basement stairs, each step measured and deliberate. In the kitchen, she poured herself a glass of water and stood at the sink, looking out at their backyard where the autumn leaves were beginning to turn. The maple tree they'd planted for their 10th anniversary was magnificent now, its branches spreading wide and strong.
There you are. Smells good in here. Did you cook?
He stood in the doorway, his gym bag over one shoulder, still wearing his work clothes despite claiming he'd come from the gym. No sweat, no flush of exercise. Even his hair remained perfectly styled.
I ordered Thai. It's in the refrigerator.
Great. I'm starving. That client meeting ran forever. You know how needy these tech startup guys can be.
He moved to kiss her cheek, and she let him. His cologne was different, something younger, more aggressive than his usual scent. She noticed a small red mark on his collar. Not lipstick. She was too smart for that. But something.
Did you call the bank about the retirement account?
I told you I'd handle it tomorrow. Why are you obsessing about this? It's obviously just a display error.
A display error that shows specific transactions. Transfers to accounts in someone else's name.
His face went through a series of micro-expressions she'd never seen before. Surprise, calculation, anger, and finally, a kind of resigned contempt. He set down his gym bag slowly.
You went through my computer.
It's our retirement, Vernon. Our money.
No, it's my money. I earned it. I invested it. I managed it while you played with test tubes and taught kids who'll never amount to anything. You have no idea what it takes to build real wealth.
The man standing in her kitchen was a stranger wearing her husband's face. 28 years of marriage, and she was seeing him clearly for the first time.
Who is Bianca Rossdale?
Someone who appreciates what I can provide. Someone who doesn't question every decision I make. Someone who actually makes me feel like a man instead of a walking ATM.
You gave her our retirement money, everything we saved.
I invested in my future. And before you even think about it, everything was legal. Those accounts were in my name. I had full authorization. You signed the papers yourself last year, remember? When we refinanced, you didn't even read them.
The room seemed to tilt. She gripped the counter, her knuckles white. The refinancing papers. He'd brought them home, told her they were routine, needed her signature for the mortgage adjustment. She'd trusted him. 30 years of marriage had earned that trust, hadn't it? Her phone buzzed. A text from Nadine. Did the transfer go through? The hospital is asking about payment. Dolores looked at her husband. No, at this stranger who had worn her husband's face while systematically destroying their life. He was scrolling through his phone now, already dismissing her, probably texting his Bianca about the inconvenience of being discovered.
This isn't over.
Oh, it is. I've already filed the papers. You'll get them served tomorrow. No-fault divorce. Michigan law says 50-50 split of remaining assets. The checking and savings accounts, the house. We'll divide it all equally. Shame about that retirement account being empty, though. Must be a banking error.
He actually smiled as he said it. Smiled. She thought about the chemistry lab, about reactions and catalysts, about how the right combination of elements could cause an explosion or create something entirely new. Vernon had just provided the catalyst. Now she would control the reaction.
You're right. It must be an error. These things happen with technology. I'm sure it will all work out.
She smiled back. The kind of smile she'd given struggling students who didn't know they were about to fail until they saw their final grades. Vernon didn't know her as well as he thought. He saw a retired chemistry teacher, soft and trusting. He didn't see the woman who'd raised their son Lucas to become a prosecutor, who'd spent 34 years teaching teenagers that every action had an equal and opposite reaction.
Good. I'm glad you're being reasonable. I'll stay in the guest room tonight. We can work out the details civilly.
He grabbed his gym bag and headed upstairs. Dolores waited until she heard the guest room door close. Then she picked up her phone and scrolled through her contacts. Lucas answered on the second ring.
Mom? Everything okay? It's kinda late.
I need your help, sweetheart, and I need you to give me the name of the best forensic accountant you know. Your father just made a very big mistake.
Mom, what's going on?
He stole our retirement and gave it to his mistress. But he was sloppy about it. And you know what I always taught you about sloppy lab work?
It always leads to explosive results. I'll be there in an hour.
2 weeks had passed since Dolores discovered the empty vault of their retirement account. 2 weeks of sleeping in the same house as a stranger, of documented conversations recorded on her phone, of evidence gathered with the patience of a scientist conducting a long-term experiment. The divorce papers lay on the kitchen counter, delivered as Vernon had promised, but Dolores hadn't signed them yet. She had other documents to collect first.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, what your husband did isn't just morally reprehensible, it's criminal.
Clarence Whitmore sat across from her at the dining room table, his laptop surrounded by banker's boxes full of financial records. Lucas had been right about him. The forensic accountant had the intensity of a bloodhound catching a scent, his fingers dancing across spreadsheets like a pianist performing a complex sonata.
Criminal how? He kept saying everything was legal, that I'd signed the authorization papers. See, that's where he got cocky. These signatures on the authorization forms, they're forgeries. Good ones, but forgeries nonetheless. I've compared them to your genuine signatures from the previous years. The pressure points are wrong. The letter formations are slightly off. He probably traced them.
Dolores studied the documents, her teacher's eye catching the subtle differences. The way her forged D was too perfect, lacking the slight leftward slant she naturally produced when signing quickly.
But that's just the appetizer. Your husband has been running a much bigger scheme. These transfers to Ms. Rossdale, they're structured to avoid reporting requirements. It's called structuring or smurfing, keeping each transfer under $10,000 to avoid federal reporting. That's a federal crime, and these business expenses he's been claiming, writing off gifts to his mistress as client entertainment, that's tax fraud. How much has he taken in total? From your joint retirement? $782,000 over 18 months. But I've found more. He's taken out a home equity line of credit against this house, $200,000. And there are credit cards in your name you didn't know about, maxed out. Total debt he's created in your name without your knowledge, close to $300,000.
The room seemed to spin. Dolores gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. Over $1 million. Their entire financial future, destroyed. Her phone buzzed. Nadine calling.
Dolores, honey, are you there? I'm worried about you. You haven't returned my calls.
I'm here. I'm sorry, Nadine. Things have been complicated.
Is this about the money for the hospital? Because if you can't do it, I understand. I'll figure something out.
The guilt was a physical weight on her chest. Her sister, fighting cancer, needing help she'd promised to provide.
I'm working on it. I promise I'm working on it.
You sound strange. What's wrong? And don't say nothing. I know my sister.
Vernon and I are getting divorced. He emptied our retirement accounts.
That bastard, I'm coming over.
No, you need to rest. Your treatment.
We'll be fine. I'll be there in 20 minutes.
The line went dead. Clarence was still working through the documents, occasionally making notes or taking photos. Dolores walked to the window, watching the street where she'd lived for 15 years. Mrs. Patterson was walking her ancient poodle. The Hendersons' teenage son was shooting baskets in their driveway. Normal life continuing, while hers imploded in slow motion.
What the hell is this?
Vernon stood in the doorway, his face red with rage. He wasn't supposed to be home. Tuesday afternoons were his standing golf games, or what he claimed were golf games.
Clarence is a forensic accountant. He's helping me understand our finances for the divorce proceedings.
Get out of my house.
He directed this at Clarence, who didn't even look up from his laptop.
Actually, Mr. Fitzgerald, this is jointly owned property. Mrs. Fitzgerald has every right to have advisors present. I'd be happy to show you the relevant Michigan statutes if you're unfamiliar with them.
You don't understand who you're dealing with. I have connections. I'll destroy your career.
That would be inadvisable. Threatening a financial investigator could be construed as obstruction, particularly when said investigator has already documented evidence of wire fraud, tax evasion, and identity theft.
Vernon's face went from red to pale. He took a step toward the table, and Dolores saw Clarence's hand move to his pocket, where she could see the outline of a phone, probably recording.
You're bluffing. Everything I did was legal. Dolores, don't let this ambulance chaser fill your head with nonsense. We can work this out between us.
Like you worked things out with Patricia Kellner?
The name hung in the air like a toxic chemical. Vernon's first wife, the one he'd claimed was crazy, vindictive, who'd tried to destroy him in their divorce 20 years ago. The one Dolores had found on social media last week, living in Florida, who'd responded to her message with a phone call that lasted 3 hours.
You talked to Patricia. That woman is insane. You can't believe anything she says.
She kept records, Vernon. Photocopies of everything from your divorce. The same pattern. Retirement accounts emptied. Loans taken out in her name. Money transferred to another woman. The only difference is she didn't have a forensic accountant. She didn't know to look for the federal crimes.
Vernon's phone rang. He glanced at it, and Dolores saw the name. Bianca. He declined the call, but it rang again immediately.
I need to take this. This conversation isn't over.
He stepped into the hallway, his voice carrying despite his attempt at whispering.
Not now. I told you not to call when... What do you mean, frozen? That's impossible. They can't do that without...
Clarence smiled slightly, typing something into his laptop.
The court orders went through this morning. Asset freeze on all accounts pending investigation. Ms. Rossdale just discovered she can't access the accounts your husband set up in her name. The condo purchase is also on hold. How did you manage that so quickly? Your son has connections in the prosecutor's office. Once they saw evidence of federal crimes, things move fast. The FBI will probably want to talk to you soon.
Vernon stormed back into the room, his phone clutched in his hand.
What did you do?
I documented everything. Every transfer, every forged signature, every fraudulent tax filing. Did you really think I'd just roll over and accept this? I taught chemistry for 34 years, Vernon. I know how to follow a formula, how to document results, how to prove a hypothesis.
You're destroying everything over jealousy. Because I found someone younger, more attractive.
The doorbell rang before Dolores could respond. Through the window, she could see Nadine's car in the driveway, but it wasn't her sister at the door. 2 people in dark suits stood on the porch, the woman in front holding up an FBI badge. Vernon looked at the door, then at Dolores, his face cycling through emotions like a slot machine before landing on desperation.
We can work this out. We don't need to involve them. Think about our son, our reputation in the community.
Our son is the one who called them. And our reputation... You destroyed that the moment you decided I was too stupid to notice you were robbing me blind.
She opened the door. The FBI agents were professionally polite, asking for Vernon by name, informing him he wasn't under arrest, but they'd appreciate his cooperation in answering some questions. As they led him out, Vernon turned back one last time.
You'll regret this. You'll get nothing. I'll make sure you get nothing.
After they left, Nadine appeared in the doorway, having waited in her car during the FBI's visit. She looked frailer than the last time Dolores had seen her, the chemotherapy taking its toll, but her eyes were fierce.
That rat bastard. Are you okay?
I will be, but I can't help you with the medical bills. Not yet. I'm so sorry.
Stop. Just stop. You're fighting for your life here, too. Just a different kind of fight. We'll figure it out together. That's what family does.
Clarence closed his laptop, organizing his papers into neat stacks.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, I need to warn you about something. When cornered animals get desperate, they get dangerous. Your husband is going to try something. Based on the patterns I've seen, he won't go quietly. What do you mean? I mean, you should change the locks, install security cameras, and document every interaction from now on. And you might want to look into Ms. Rossdale more carefully. In my experience, mistresses who suddenly lose their funding can become either your worst enemy or your best witness.
Her phone buzzed with a message request on Instagram. Bianca Rossdale wanted to talk. The message was simple. He did this to me too. We need to meet. Dolores stared at the message for a long moment. The woman who'd been sleeping with her husband, who'd received hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen from their retirement, wanted to meet. Every instinct screamed it was a trap, But then she thought about Patricia, the first wife, and the pattern Clarence had mentioned. Vernon didn't just betray wives. He betrayed everyone eventually.
Tomorrow at 2 p.m., public place, Starbucks on Main Street.
The response was immediate.
I'll be there. And Mrs. Fitzgerald, I'm sorry for everything. You deserved to know the truth months ago.
Dolores closed the laptop and walked through her house, checking windows and doors. Tomorrow she would meet her husband's mistress. Tomorrow she would learn what other secrets Vernon had been hiding. But tonight she would install new locks and security cameras, just as Clarence had suggested. Because when you'd spent 34 years teaching teenagers about chemical reactions, you knew that the most violent explosions often came from the most unexpected combinations. Thanksgiving arrived with unseasonable warmth in Michigan, the November air thick with humidity that made everything feel wrong. Dolores sat in the Starbucks on Main Street, arriving 30 minutes early to watch the entrance, to see Bianca before being seen. 3 weeks of investigation had prepared her for this moment, but her hands still trembled slightly as she gripped her untouched coffee. Bianca Rossdale entered at exactly 2 p.m., and she wasn't what Dolores expected. The Instagram photos had shown a polished woman draped in designer goods. The person who walked through the door looked hollowed out, wearing simple jeans and a sweater, her face bare of makeup, dark circles under her eyes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, thank you for meeting me.
Her voice was smaller than expected, lacking the confidence of someone who'd been living on stolen money. She sat down across from Dolores, pulling a thick folder from her bag.
You said he did this to you, too. What did you mean?
I thought I was special. God, I was such an idiot. He told me you were emotionally abusive, that you controlled all the money, that he was trapped in a loveless marriage. He said once the divorce was final, we'd start fresh.
She opened the folder, revealing bank statements, text messages, photos.
3 weeks ago, I discovered he'd been using my name to launder money. The condo he bought for us? It's in my name, but the mortgage documents are fraudulent. He forged my signature on loan applications, opened credit cards in my name. I'm now personally liable for over $400,000 in debt I didn't know existed.
Why would he put it all in your name?
Because when the FBI investigates, it looks like I'm the one who received stolen funds. He set me up to take the fall. But here's what he didn't know. My father was a fraud investigator for an insurance company before he died. He taught me to always document everything.
She pulled out a small device, a digital recorder.
Every conversation for the last 6 months. Every time he explained where the money came from, how he was protecting assets from his crazy wife. Every confession about hiding money offshore. I have it all.
Dolores studied the younger woman's face, searching for deception, for the trap Clarence had warned about. But all she saw was exhaustion and fear.
Why record him if you thought you were in love?
My father always said if someone badmouths their ex constantly, they'll badmouth you eventually. I started recording for protection, just in case. Then I found the loan documents. Then I found out about Patricia, his first wife. Did you know there was another woman before her? A fiancé in college who mysteriously had her credit destroyed?
Dolores felt the pieces clicking together, like elements forming a compound. Vernon wasn't just a cheating husband or a financial predator. He was something worse, a serial con artist who happened to be married.
What do you want from me?
I want to work together, to make sure he pays for everything, because there's something else you don't know. He's already got his next target.
She pulled out her phone, showing a dating app profile. Vernon's photo, but under the name Victor Fitzgerald, claiming to be a widower, a successful investment advisor looking for love in his golden years.
He matched with 3 women this week, all widows or divorcees, all with substantial assets. He's not going to stop.
Dolores's phone rang. Lucas.
Mom, where are you? Dad's here at the house with a moving truck. He says he's taking his things.
Don't let him in. The restraining order.
He has a police escort. Says it's his legal right to retrieve personal belongings. Mom, he's taking everything from his office, and I think he's trying to get into your computer.
Dolores stood, Bianca immediately following.
We need to go, now.
The drive home took 12 minutes that felt like hours. 2 police cars were parked outside, along with a moving truck. Vernon was directing movers, pointing at furniture, artwork, electronics. Lucas stood on the porch, recording everything with his phone.
Ah, Dolores, and you brought your little friend. How nice.
His smile was razor-sharp, but Dolores noticed the tremor in his hands, the sweat on his forehead despite the cool air.
Ma'am, Mr. Fitzgerald has a court order to retrieve his personal belongings. We're here to ensure it's done peacefully.
Of course, officer. Lucas, did you get the safe?
Already moved it to my car, Mom, along with all the financial documents Mr. Whitmore flagged.
Vernon's face darkened.
That safe contains my personal property.
Actually, it contains our joint tax returns, insurance policies, and investment records. All marital assets that need to be reviewed for the divorce proceedings.
She turned to Bianca.
Ms. Rossdale, did you bring the recordings we discussed?
Vernon went very still. Bianca held up her phone.
Every conversation, Vernon, including the one where you explained how to hide assets in the Cayman Islands, and the one where you laughed about your stupid cow of a wife not knowing what hit her.
You recorded me without consent. That's illegal.
Actually, Dad, Michigan is a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows it's being recorded, it's perfectly legal. They covered that in first-year law school.
One of the movers emerged from the house, carrying Vernon's computer equipment. As he loaded it into the truck, a small device fell from between two boxes, an external hard drive that Dolores recognized.
Officer, that hard drive contains evidence in an ongoing FBI investigation. It needs to be secured.
Sir, I'm going to need you to leave that item here.
This is harassment. I'll sue all of you.
His phone rang. He looked at the screen, and his face went pale. He answered, walking away from the group.
Hello? Yes, this is Vernon Fitzgerald. What do you mean arrested? That's impossible, she's...
He looked at Bianca with pure hatred.
You called the FBI on Jennifer?
Jennifer Martinez, your Tuesday afternoon appointment? The one you've been stealing from, too? Yeah, I found her. Turns out she's been documenting everything, too. Funny how women talk to each other when they realize they've been played by the same man.
Dolores watched her husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, crumble in real time. His shoulders sagged, his perfect posture collapsed, and for the first time in 28 years, she saw him for what he really was. A small, desperate man who built himself up by tearing others down.
Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Clarence's car pulled up, and he got out holding a tablet, practically vibrating with excitement.
I found it. The Cayman account. It's not in his name or yours, or even Ms. Rossdale's. It's under a shell company, but I traced it. $1.3 million, and here's the best part. He moved money into it just yesterday, violating the asset freeze. That's contempt of court.
Mr. Fitzgerald, I'm going to need you to come with us to the station.
I'm not under arrest. You can't...
No, sir. But there's a bench warrant for contempt of court that just came through. You can come voluntarily, or I can arrest you.
As Vernon was led to the police car, he turned back one last time. But he wasn't looking at Dolores. He was staring at Bianca with an expression of pure disbelief.
You were nothing. I made you everything you are.
No, Vernon, you made me your victim, but I chose to become your worst nightmare, a woman with receipts.
After the police cars left, the three of them stood in the driveway. Dolores, Bianca, and Lucas. 3 generations affected by one man's greed.
Mom, the prosecutor wants to meet Monday. With both of you. They're building a RICO case.
RICO? Isn't that for organized crime?
Financial fraud across multiple victims over 20 years? That's a pattern of racketeering activity. Dad's looking at federal prison.
Thank you for coming forward. It couldn't have been easy.
I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for the next woman he would have destroyed. And for myself. I need to know I'm more than just another fool who fell for a con man.
You're not a fool. You're a survivor. We both are.
That night, Dolores sat in her empty living room. Vernon had taken most of the furniture, with Nadine beside her on the floor, sharing Chinese takeout from paper containers.
So you're telling me his mistress became your star witness?
Life's more complicated than my chemistry equations. Sometimes the catalyst for justice comes from the most unexpected source.
How much do you think you'll recover?
Clarence thinks most of it. The FBI can seize the offshore accounts, the fraudulent properties. It'll take time, but we'll get there. And I can help you with the medical bills soon.
Forget about that. Watching Vernon get hauled away away in a police car was worth more than any payment. Though I do have one question. Why didn't you see it sooner? The signs were there.
Dolores thought about the question. About 28 years of small dismissals, tiny betrayals, moments when she'd chosen trust over suspicion.
Because I was looking at the wrong experiment. I thought I was studying a marriage. Turns out I was observing a long-term con. But every experiment teaches you something, even the failed ones.
Her phone buzzed with an email from an unknown address. The subject line read, "You don't know me, but Vernon Fitzgerald destroyed my mother." Inside was a story from 15 years ago. Another woman, another theft, another life destroyed. The sender wanted to help with the prosecution. Dolores forwarded it to Lucas and Clarence, then closed her laptop. Tomorrow, there would be more victims coming forward. Tomorrow, the case would grow stronger. But tonight, she sat with her sister in her empty house, and for the first time in months, she felt something like peace. Vernon had taken the furniture, the retirement funds, the illusion of their marriage. But he'd given her something too, the knowledge that she was stronger than she'd ever imagined, and that justice, while slow, was inexorable as a chemical reaction, inevitable as entropy itself. The 15th of December arrived with a blizzard that shut down half of Michigan, but the Oakland County Courthouse remained open. Dolores sat in the gallery, her hands folded in her lap, watching Vernon at the defendant's table. 3 months had transformed him from the polished financial advisor into something diminished. His expensive suit replaced by a cheaper one that didn't quite fit, his perfect hair now gray at the roots.
This court is now in session. The United States versus Vernon Ray Fitzgerald. Are all parties present?
The federal prosecutor, a young woman who reminded Dolores of herself 30 years ago, stood with confident precision. Vernon's attorney, the third one he'd hired after the first 2 quit, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else.
Your Honor, the government has uncovered additional evidence of Mr. Fitzgerald's fraudulent activities. We now have 17 victims spanning 23 years.
17. The number hit Dolores like a physical blow. She'd known about Patricia, about Bianca, about Jennifer Martinez, about the 4 women who'd come forward after the news broke. But 17?
Mr. Fitzgerald, how do you plead to the amended charges?
Not guilty, Your Honor. This is a witch hunt orchestrated by my vindictive ex-wife.
Even now, even with FBI agents having documented everything, he couldn't admit fault. Dolores watched him scan the gallery, his eyes stopping on each woman he recognized, his victims forming a silent jury of their own.
Your Honor, we'd like to call our first witness, Bianca Rossdale.
Bianca walked to the witness stand in a simple black suit, her transformation complete. Gone was any trace of the Instagram influencer. She looked like what she'd become, a key witness in a federal case.
Ms. Rossdale, please tell the court about your relationship with the defendant.
I met Vernon 18 months ago at a marketing conference. He presented himself as a successful financial advisor trapped in an abusive marriage. He said his wife controlled all their money, that she was mentally unstable.
What happened next?
He love-bombed me. Flowers, expensive dinners, jewelry. Within 2 months, he was talking about our future together. He said he needed to hide assets from his crazy wife and asked me to help. I was so stupid. I thought I was helping him escape an abusive situation.
Vernon's attorney stood.
Objection. The witness is editorializing.
Overruled. Continue, Ms. Rossdale.
He had me open bank accounts, sign loan documents he said were investments. He told me we were building our future. What he was actually doing was using me to launder money stolen from his wife's retirement account.
I'd like to submit into evidence Exhibit 47, audio recordings made by Ms. Rossdale.
The courtroom filled with Vernon's voice, tinny through the speakers but unmistakable.
Dolores is too stupid to notice. 30 years of teaching kids, and she can't even balance a checkbook. By the time she figures it out, everything will be in the Caymans. Untouchable.
Dolores felt every eye in the courtroom glance at her. She kept her face neutral, the way she'd learned to during parent-teacher conferences with difficult families.
You know what the beauty of it is, baby? Even if she finds out, she signed papers. Legal papers. She trusted me to handle everything, and I did. I handled it right into our accounts.
The recording continued, but Dolores stopped listening. She was watching Vernon, seeing the exact moment he realized he'd lost. His shoulders slumped, his perfect posture finally breaking.
Your Honor, we'd like to call our next witness, Patricia Kellner.
Patricia walked in from Phoenix, 20 years older, but with steel in her spine. Vernon actually flinched when he saw her.
Vernon Fitzgerald destroyed my life in 1998. Same pattern, drained accounts, secret loans, hidden mistress. But back then, I didn't have the resources to fight. I lost everything and had to start over at 43. I've waited 20 years for this moment.
The prosecution was methodical, brilliant. Each witness built on the last, creating a pattern so clear that even Vernon's attorney stopped objecting. By lunch, 7 women had testified. During the break, Dolores stood in the hallway, Lucas beside her. Nadine had wanted to come, but was too weak from her latest treatment.
You okay, Mom?
I spent 28 years with a stranger. How did I not see it?
Because you're a good person who believes others are good, too. That's not a flaw, Mom. That's what makes you human.
Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Clarence approached, practically bouncing with excitement.
The Cayman banks just agreed to cooperate. Full asset freeze and repatriation. You're getting it back. All of it. With interest and penalties, you'll actually come out ahead.
What about the other women?
The court will distribute restitution based on documented losses. Everyone will be made as whole as possible.
When court resumed, Vernon's attorney stood.
Your Honor, my client would like to change his plea.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Vernon stood slowly, looking older than his 59 years.
Guilty, Your Honor, to all charges.
The word hung in the air. Dolores had imagined this moment would bring satisfaction, but all she felt was empty. This wasn't victory. It was just an ending.
Mr. Fitzgerald, do you have anything to say before sentencing?
I was trying to build something, to be somebody. I grew up with nothing, and I swore I'd never be nothing again.
You built your something on the ruins of other people's lives. You showed no mercy to your victims, and this court shows you none beyond what the law requires. Vernon Ray Fitzgerald, you are hereby sentenced to 15 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. You will pay full restitution to all victims, forfeit all assets, obtained through fraudulent means, and are permanently barred from working in any fiduciary capacity.
As the bailiffs led Vernon away, he turned one last time. Not to Dolores, not to any of his victims, but to the empty space where his future used to be. Outside the courthouse, snow was still falling. The victims stood together in an unlikely sisterhood, 17 women whose lives had intersected through one man's greed.
What do we do now?
We rebuild. We always do. That's what he never understood. We're stronger than he ever was.
A reporter approached with a microphone.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, how does it feel to have won?
I didn't win. Nobody wins when trust is betrayed like this. But justice was served, and that has to be enough.
What's next for you?
I'm starting a foundation. Financial literacy and fraud prevention for women over 50. Nobody should go through what we went through.
That evening, Dolores sat in her kitchen, her empty kitchen in a house she would soon sell, video calling with Nadine.
It's 547 times more than the 0 years he expected. Chemistry taught me that sometimes you don't get the perfect reaction, but you take what you can get and move forward.
Speaking of moving forward, I have news. The treatment's working. The tumors are shrinking.
For the first time in months, Dolores felt genuine joy.
That's the best news I've heard all year.
And you can help with the bills now.
Every penny you need. That's what family does.
After the call, Dolores walked through her house one last time. Tomorrow, the movers would come. She'd found a smaller place closer to Nadine, closer to Lucas. The grandfather clock chimed 9, Vernon's mother's clock, the one thing of his she was keeping. Not for sentiment, but as a reminder that time reveals everything, eventually. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. She almost deleted it, then saw the first line. My name is Monica Chen, and I think Vernon Fitzgerald is my father. Dolores stared at the message. Another secret. Another victim, perhaps, or another predator in training. She started to type a response, then stopped. Some secrets could wait until tomorrow. Tonight, she had won something back. Not her marriage, not her old life, but her future, and that was enough. 3 months had passed since the Christmas verdict, and spring came early to Michigan, melting the snow to reveal what had been buried beneath. Dolores stood in the empty house on Maple Creek Drive, supervising the estate sale that would finally close this chapter of her life. The grandfather clock had already been moved to her new apartment, its chiming the only constant through the chaos.
Mom, someone's here to see you. Says her name is Monica Chen.
The young woman who entered looked nothing like Vernon except for her eyes. Calculating, sharp, missing nothing. She was perhaps 30, professionally dressed, carrying herself with careful composure.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, thank you for agreeing to see me. I know my message must have been a shock.
Your father never mentioned you.
He doesn't know I exist. My mother was his secretary in 1994. She never told him she was pregnant, never asked for anything. She knew what he was.
Then why are you here?
Because I've been watching him my whole life, tracking his victims, documenting his patterns. I'm an FBI agent, Mrs. Fitzgerald. I specialized in financial crimes because of him.
The revelation hung in the air like a chemical reaction waiting for a catalyst. Lucas stepped forward, his prosecutor instincts activated.
Your FBI? Why didn't you intervene sooner?
I couldn't work his case directly, conflict of interest, but I could make sure the right people were watching. I could make sure when he finally got caught, it would stick.
Dolores studied this unexpected daughter-in-law, this ghost from Vernon's past, who'd been orchestrating justice from the shadows.
What do you want from me?
Nothing. I came to give you something.
She pulled out a flash drive.
Every victim he ever had, going back to college. Contact information for all of them. Most don't even know they were victims. They thought they just had bad luck with credit or investments. Your foundation could help them understand what really happened.
Before Dolores could respond, her phone rang. Nadine.
Dolores, turn on Channel 7, now.
Lucas found the remote, and the estate sale viewers gathered around the television. Vernon's face filled the screen, but it was footage from prison, an interview he'd somehow arranged.
I want to apologize to my victims, especially my wife Dolores. I was sick with greed, with the need to control. I'm getting therapy now, understanding my narcissistic personality disorder. I hope someday they can forgive me.
Mr. Fitzgerald has also announced he's writing a book about his crimes, with proceeds going to his victims.
Lucas snorted in disgust.
He's trying to profit from this. Even now.
Actually, he can't. I made sure of that. Any money from his story goes directly to the Victim Restitution Fund. It's called the Son of Sam Law.
You've thought of everything.
I had 30 years to plan.
That afternoon, after Monica left and the estate sale concluded, Dolores sat in her new apartment overlooking the river. Smaller than the house, but hers alone. The doorbell rang. Bianca stood outside with a bottle of wine and a smile.
Thought you could use company, and I have news. I got into law school. Decided if I'm going to fight predators, I should know the law.
That's wonderful. Come in.
They sat on the small balcony, watching the river flow past. Two unlikely friends forged in the crucible of betrayal.
Do you ever regret not seeing it sooner?
Every day. But regret is like a failed experiment. You can't undo it. You can only learn from it.
The Foundation's website went live today. We already have 50 women asking for help.
The Foundation. Their foundation now. Bianca had become her unexpected partner, bringing social media savvy and a network of younger women who needed guidance. Together, they were building something from the ashes of their destroyed lives. Dolores's phone buzzed. A text from Patricia in Phoenix. Saw the news about the Foundation. I'm in. Sending a check tomorrow. Another from Jennifer Martinez. My daughter wants to intern with you this summer. She's studying accounting. And one from a number she didn't recognize. You don't know me, but Vernon Fitzgerald was my financial advisor 5 years ago. I lost $50,000 and thought it was my fault. Thank you for showing me the truth.
We're actually doing this. We're helping people.
We're doing more than that. We're making sure there are fewer victims for the next Vernon.
That evening, Dolores drove to Nadine's house for dinner. Her sister was in remission, her hair growing back silver and soft, her energy returning. Lucas was there with his girlfriend, someone new Dolores hadn't met yet, a forensic analyst who specialized in cryptocurrency fraud.
You look good, Dolores. Happy.
Not happy exactly, but Purposeful. Is that strange?
After what you've been through, it's a miracle.
Mom, I have something to tell you. The prosecutor's office wants to hire you as a consultant, training agents on financial fraud patterns, how victims get targeted.
They want to hire a retired chemistry teacher.
They want to hire someone who survived Vernon Fitzgerald and helped take him down, someone who understands both the emotional and financial manipulation. You'd be perfect.
After dinner, Dolores drove home through streets she'd known for decades. But everything looked different now. The familiar had become foreign when her life exploded, but now it was becoming familiar again in a new configuration. Like a chemical compound that breaks down and reforms into something entirely different, but somehow stronger. Back in her apartment, she opened her laptop to find an email from the publisher who'd bought Vernon's book rights. They wanted her to write a response memoir. Her story, her perspective. The advance alone would fund the foundation for 2 years. She began typing. Chapter 1. The Woman Who Didn't Know. I spent 28 years married to a stranger. This isn't a story about how I discovered his betrayal. It's about how I discovered myself. The grandfather clock chimed midnight. 6 months ago, that sound had marked the beginning of her investigation into Vernon's crimes. Now it marked something else. The moment when she stopped defining herself by what had been taken from her and started defining herself by what she was building. Her phone lit up with a video call from an unknown number. When she answered, 17 faces appeared on screen. All of Vernon's victims, connected through a video conference Bianca had arranged.
We wanted to thank you, Dolores, for fighting when the rest of us had given up.
For showing us we weren't alone.
For turning us from victims into warriors.
One by one, they spoke, sharing their progress. New jobs, new relationships, new lives built on foundations of hard-won wisdom. The call lasted an hour. 17 women who should never have met, bound together by one man's greed, but ultimately defined by their own resilience. After they hung up, Dolores stood on her balcony, looking at the river that flowed endlessly toward Lake Michigan. Vernon was in federal prison, probably lying on a narrow bunk, counting the days in his 15-year sentence. But she wasn't thinking about him anymore. She was thinking about tomorrow's foundation meeting, next week's FBI training session, the book she would write, the women she would help. The spring wind carried the scent of blooming flowers, of new growth pushing through old soil. Dolores Ann Fitzgerald, 56 years old, retired chemistry teacher, divorced woman, survivor of financial fraud, founder of a foundation, upcoming author, FBI consultant, sister, mother, and unlikely warrior, breathed it in deep. She had lost everything. Her retirement, her marriage, her innocence about human nature. But in losing everything, she had found something Vernon never understood and never could steal. Herself. The grandfather clock chimed once more, marking the end of one day and the beginning of another. Time, the one thing Vernon couldn't manipulate, moved forward. And so did she.